It's thinking.
Says
Now
we're live.
We're live. Yeah, baby. So Dizzy says he stepped onto an MV-22 Osprey from VMM 774 on Saturday. They had some kind of a Marine 250th birthday aviation thing going on in Boston this week. It was pretty cool.
Hey, speaking of birthdays, did you see our message traffic that 223 is going to have a Harrier down in Pensacola for the Blue Angel Air Show the weekend of our anniversary?
That'd be cool. I didn't know that.
Repeat locked up on us. Now he's got bad internet.
Yeah, I heard you asking about a Harrier.
Yeah, did you?
Are you serious? Now I'm doing this?
You were gone a minute. 223 sent in a jet to the Blue Angel Air Show the weekend of our birthday celebration down there.
223 is it?
Well, it's the last Harrier squadron, so I'm assuming it's 223.
It's either that or Pax River.
No, the email correspondence came from, actually, it was email correspondence from their S5 that I was chatting with about.
Oh, shit hot. Okay.
Stuff.
Hey, did you get the email from Porky? You saw that?
I did.
For next year. So, yeah, we're going to try and be there in Cherry Point next year, do a show with a bunch of Harrier drivers. There's going to be some legends there, man, for the last...
Well, if they're not legends yet, they're going to be legends after next year.
About to be. That's right. So, all right. So it looks like for whatever the hell was going on with me seems to have settled itself down. So that's good.
So you on my screen where it says live, right next to that is a Wi-Fi signal indicator. And it's got one little dot. Can you see that? Is that your signal?
I don't think so. Let me move you over to where it says live and see if I'm seeing anything. Nope. What I see is that and the number 2. It looks like an I, which tells me that there's 2 people on YouTube. It doesn't tell me.
On my screen, just to the left of that I is another little box that's got the little Wi-Fi symbol. It's got like no bars, like one little dot at the bottom.
It's like, I don't know. I would think like yours or something, but I don't know because, no.
I'm looking at mine. No, mine's full bars. I'm literally 5 feet from my router.
Yeah. Well, I'm almost 7. So
I'm there with you about 4 or 5 feet. Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, we're going to kill it this time. Let me change the banners to this. We'll get your intro ready. Intro music. Media assets. There we go. And then reset the timer, and we will commence the commencing. Here we go.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
This here is a true story about crossing the pond at night in the world's smallest cockpit, on the tanker, through the weather. Oh, and to the tanker crew who did that, thanks a lot. We really appreciated that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fun.
So there I was in Afghanistan, overhead an operation, getting ready to shoot approximately 5 guys, man at a 30 mil. Then the aircraft commander says, "Hey Dyer, tell those dick shiners to get off the radio." And he's talking about the drone guys. They just wouldn't shut up, draining everyone's essay, stating the obvious, things like that. So what do? I don't whisper it. I put it in all caps in the main chat for the whole operation to see, including GFC, JTAC, God, and everybody. We ended up shooting about 5 guys, and right before we leave, you hear Spectre 61, when you guys RTB, come see me ASAP. So there I was, Forward Colonel. There I was.
Locked up your body in front of that man. Holy shit. That's awesome.
Did you say the aircraft commander said, "Hey, Tito, tell those dick skinners on the ground. Did he say dick skinners?
He said like dick shiners, like he's shining like a bowling ball, like dick shiners.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh man, well that's how a great aviation tale followed by an ass chewing begins. Greetings, everyone. Repeat here, coming to you from New Hampshire. Where's my co-host?
I am blessed enough to be coming from my casa for at least 2 more days, and It's our pleasure to have Tito with us on So There I Was. Welcome, Tito.
Thanks for having me, guys. Glad to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So you didn't start out life as a gunner on a Spectre C-130 gunship, one of the baddest airframes up there, not one you want to be on the business end of.
Never.
Ever. How'd you get there? How'd you get interested in aviation? How'd you get in the Air Force?
So when I basically, I turned 17 there, my dad gives me the typical, talk to the son, right? Like, hey, you need to get a job, go to college, or get out. And, I talked to a Navy recruiter, and he was talking about being on a boat for 6 months, and then an Army recruiter. And then finally, my dad talked to me a little bit about the quality of life, Air Force, TDY, golf clubs, all that good stuff. And that's what I decided to do, and graduated, I believe, May, and then July 18th of 2000, I was there in San Antonio, Texas, in a basic training.
Nice.
As far as I've always sort of loved aviation, though. I remember like one of my friends took me on a helicopter ride there in Pigeon Forge in Tennessee, the mountains there, and that moment I knew like some way it'd be, I guess somehow knew it'd be part of my life in some way, shape, or form. And after my first flight in the Air Force, especially, I never looked back, man. I love it.
That's outstanding. All right. So, high school was not your favorite thing, having to figure out what you're going to do after, and didn't want to be stuck on a boat with 5,000 other men. And
sounds like a song we might have heard somewhere.
Right? So, okay. So Air Force turned out to be a good choice for you, but you didn't go into gunship flying right away either. What'd you wind up doing?
So I pretty much at that point, the late enlistment program jumped on whatever, job. I think it was like a $7,000 bonus, give or take, and then also was available to go through MEPS and to leave at the latest July. And I did that, and I became a what we call load tote, a weapons loader, the 2W1 AFSC. I know you guys use MOSs, but that's just a fancy way of saying the guy who loads the bombs and missiles on the fighters as well as the bombers and everything else.
Okay, you call them load toad.
Load toads, yeah, because the jammer comes out and it looks like almost like a frog,
Right.
It's always green. But yeah, I loaded the mighty F-15E Strike Eagle there at Seymour Johnson for a couple years. Then I went to Osan, Korea. Was in the 36, I believe it was the Philippines over there as a loader. And then my last loader assignment was at Tyndall in the one of the training squads. I think it was 2nd Fighter Squadron down there. And then that was F-15Cs and Ds. And then, went to firefighter, basically Air Force firefighting right after that, 4 or 5 years. And then I didn't become an aero gunner until about 2010s when I started retraining in the NCO Corps retraining program. And, there's a whole story behind that about, I was home, I was, at the pizza parlor, and I was with some friends, and, I see the same cracks in the road. That's what I call it, same cracks in the road. And I realized war on terror, I'd done nothing. I'd been sitting on the sideline, and, I come to the realization like, man, when you die, you can't take nothing with you. It's how you remember. That's what matters. And I want to do something in my eyes that was noble. And so I signed up to be what was then aerial gunner and joined the mighty Spectre Gunship in the 16th Special Operations Squadron.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
So, can you were pretty seasoned by the time you did that? Is that a requirement, or can guys basically right out of basic get that MOS?
Yeah. So now you can even because they call it special missions aviators now, and what they did was they made a Swiss Army knife in the sky, if you will. Like you have your aerial gunner combined with loadmaster and flight engineer duties all in one. Okay. And so basically right now they do take flight school to high school, or high school to flight school is what I've heard that term called. Yeah. Where it used to be, back then, it was a weapons background AFSC, a feeder AFSC. And then, like, for example, a flight engineer would be like a crew chief would go to that. So,
okay.
So that made your background in ordnance kind of made sense
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, just handling munitions, just the safety that goes with that, and explosive safety standards, all that, transferred over. And I will say though, when I became a gunner, though, everything was a lot more like detail, especially like back then the weapons expert of the crew, and it's one of those things where if you can't figure out what's wrong with your gun, you got a malfunction. You got guys on the ground getting lit up, and the intensity in their voice, and you can't figure out what's wrong with your gun. It's a bad feeling. So you never want to be that guy, and so we took a lot of pride in being the weapons expert and getting those rounds out in that timely close air support. So
yeah.
So you said it's a bad feeling. It's probably a worse feeling for the guy on the ground.
Oh yeah,
right.
What's taking so long?
Like how's that malfunction coming?
You think it feels like an eternity to you? The guy that's pinned down.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me get some buttons off my shirt so I can get closer to the ground.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
By the time you're checked out and you get on range, like you're ready. I'll say that. Like you always wonder how you're gonna do on your first shoot or your first trip, and
sure,
it's crazy how like you realize in that moment where like, man, I've been here before, man. Like I'm about to do more for my country in this 4-hour sortie than I've done my whole life, and that was a real privilege and honor.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, I want to ask you something else though, but and then get back to the Spectre and the weapons and all that's on board. You did some other crazy stuff there between loading aircraft and going to C-130s. You put on the baked potato suit and ran towards fires.
I did, yeah. I went to the Lewis F. Garland there. Actually, ironically enough, one of my blocks I had a Marine gunny as an instructor there to show me how to tie knots and stuff. Went to the DoD Fire Academy there, and I went to Charleston Air Force Base right after that as a aircraft fire and rescue firefighter. What a lot of people don't realize about, which is a good thing, especially on any base, everything's so fire safe, all the standards are higher, and you may get 3 good structure fires a year. I did have a pretty good one in Balad, Iraq one time when the whole bazaar went up because of some meat blankets, but yeah, it's a different story. But yeah, it was fun putting the wet stuff on the hot stuff, man, and in the end I still felt like, man, I wanted to do more and get in a fight.
Sure.
But you did.
Right, he did indeed. But man, you're too humble. I'm telling you, the guys putting the weapons on the airplane and fighting the fires, man. None of the forward shit could go on if that wasn't done, right?
Oh yeah,
pilots. We can't load our own airplanes. We don't know which way to point the missiles or the bombs.
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you definitely need every job to get the beans and bullets out, right? Like no matter what that job is, and there's a funny story, man. I think it was General Swartz. I don't know how true this is, but basically he's deployed. He goes to see the troops downrange, and there's 2 airmen in the chow hall, right? And he asked one airman, he goes, "What do you do for the Air Force?" "Oh, I just make salads." And then he asked the other guys, "What do you do?" He goes, "Oh, I make the best salad this fucking Air Force has to offer, sir." So you truly need everybody, for everything.
Right.
That's yeah. I don't remember the exact number, but that you just triggered this thought. For every person that goes outside the wire, trigger puller, aviator, or whatever, there's like 50 in the rear that support that one person.
Oh yeah.
So it's a lot.
That and just the millions of dollars. You guys know for like one sortie, I couldn't imagine what you guys cost. Millions just to get one bird up for one training sortie, right? So
yeah. I forget what our hourly cost was, but it was not free. So,
yeah.
And then Badass puts in the chat, IYAO, YAS. If you ain't ordnance, you ain't shit. Which I used to love to go into the ordnance shop and go, okay, so if you are ordnance, you are shit? Is that what you guys are saying? Come on.
Well, that's not what I mean.
No, goddamn it, sir. That's not what it is.
That must be pretty universal because the ammo guys, even here, you'll see bumper stickers with if you're not ammo, you ain't shit,
Yeah.
IES, whatever they call it. Yeah, that's cool.
Hey, let me ask you this, Tito, because I just had a flash of our ordnance shop there at our old Harrier squadron. They had a bench press and a bar, and I don't know, several 100 pounds of metal plates there. When they weren't loading, they were all pumping iron and shit. It was Is that kind of ordinance, in every branch type thing, or is that?
Yeah. I think they're all a bunch of just barrel chested stacked people, just that sort of the bear mode, if you will, build, and they could definitely throw them things on the aircraft quick, so.
Lift up a 500-pounder and stick it on.
Yeah. And a couple of 240 shorties out of the bar, who knows, So.
Yeah. And as Bago puts it, without warheads, you can't put warheads on foreheads. So
that's very, very true. Very true. Yeah.
So takes everyone, Yeah, shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, they would do cool stuff. Like I remember, like they would write like on the the 105, like for Harambe or whatever the case may be, some sort of message, for ISIS or Taliban, whichever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have a nice day.
Yeah. I think the best one I seen was like it was a 30 mil. Someone took the time to write we've been trying to reach you about your vehicle's extended warranty. Like they did it, in sequence for each round. Imagine pulling that slug out of somebody.
That is that's detailed. That's detailed workmanship right there, sir.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We lean on those ammo guys a lot. We appreciate them.
So I don't want to. I feel like we're reattacking some things, but it's just because we failed on our first attempt here. So you're training to be an aerial gunner. Can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah. So back then you started out in San Antonio. I believe it was the Medina Annex there, Texas. You did aircrew fundamentals, which is like, hey, like this is the basic stuff of flying. This is how many hours you can get in so many a time period, etc. And then you go to your basic aero gunner where you get a very brief overview of the weapons. Like, hey, this is a 40 mil, this is a 105, this is a 30 mil Bushmaster, 50 cal, etc. And by that point, that's probably a couple months into it. And then you go to the 3-week survival, the SEER course up in Fairchild, Washington.
Yep.
I tell people it's some of the best training I've ever had, but I definitely never want to do that again,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then they sent me back then it was in Pensacola, the water survival school. And then, it wasn't bad, man. You do like a parasailing thing, a basic parachutist type course. And it was actually pretty fun. And, they give you the flags and they release you. Then, I remember, man, we were out in the Gulf, man, and there's like some navigator or something. We're in the little boot size raft, Yeah. And he's about 50 feet away. And this asshole starts like, with the fishing kit they give you. I'm like, hey, man, it's like 4 hours, bro. There's tiger sharks out here. You want a Snickers? I got you. You know what I mean? So let's not bring blood in this 4 hours,
Right.
Yes, something I definitely felt though for the first time was the Dunker, and this is up at Fairchild. Basically, if you take a helicopter fuselage and you take it underwater and you roll it around and rotate it, and you're upside down, and your last iteration they put the black goggles on you, and man, for the life of me, I could not find this door handle, and I was close as I ever came to drowning, I think, but the SEER guys got me out, and then I'd failed at that point, but somehow by the grace of God, they threw me a bone, man. And I don't know if it was good attitude, whatever the case was. And they're like, hey, you're going to work with this guy for a week. And by the time that guy was done with me, man, like I was solid, so.
Well, you're probably one of the older guys going through. You're probably with a bunch of young guys. They probably felt bad for you, number one. Like, we can't watch this guy out. He's one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was, I was older at that point. Yeah,
you were more seasoned, and I'm saying this in jest, but what you're referring to was not one of my favorites either, because we had to do the same thing about every 5 years, right? Repeat.
Oh yeah.
And the last one that counted was like you said, smoked out goggles you couldn't see. You're strapped in, you get flipped upside down, and everybody has to go out the same hole,
the same door.
Yeah, and if you're waiting on that guy,
right?
I was that guy you're probably waiting on, but yeah. But yeah, man.
If you like a steel-toed boot in the nose, you hurry up and try and get to that door.
Oh yeah, I mean, you guys remember people would get kicked or whatever the case was.
Oh yeah.
You get in that panic mode where there's no oxygen, right? Like you see, some boots to the face for sure. But
I came up with a bloody nose one time from getting a heel in the face. So I said from then on out, I waited until I could feel no movement around me, and then I went.
Oh yeah.
I could hold my breath. I just didn't want to get kicked in the face again.
Right. In a minute is a long time. You just sit there for, 30, 40 seconds and you got another 20 seconds to get out.
And it's wild, and then those those PJs just be down there just taunting the SEER instructor. They live for that shit, man. They get, they're like fish themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Here, don't touch me. I'm not done
Like I
yet.
could do this all day, like shit like that. But, yeah.
Yeah. Oh
So
man!
no,
All right.
so in my mind, aerial gunner school, you go out to the range and you got the gun, like you're in a mocked up fuselage and you're putting hate down range, and then you go, okay, you got it. All right, now we're gonna go flying and do it. So you don't really do that, do you?
Yeah. You don't. There was a gun room like you would be in. Basically, when I got to Cannon, it was the 551st Special Operations Squadron for my IQT, the initial qualification training, and it's back then it was about 17 flights, and before you even do that, you go to the gun room and there was a 40 mil and a 105, and this was just in a garage even type atmosphere.
Okay.
And they could mechanically like set everything up, to where like you could recognize what you had and clear them out, and plethora of malfunctions. Then your cycle of operations before you even touch the aircraft, and then you get into how much emergency equipment you have, all that stuff, and then you do your basic, your first flight there, in IQT. And I remember my very first flight, man. This guy, it was so bad that to where like the instructor was like, "Hey, he's like, you're the reason they have to brief, seatbelts on airliners." So, it went that bad, But we get to a point where he does mention like, like he gets all, you get beat up and shit like that, and he's like, "Man, he's like, what's the most important word in the dictionary?" And I was like, I didn't know. I was dumbfounded at that point. And he's like, perseverance. And he's like, I want you to think about that, what that means before your next flight. And that's what I learned about flying, man, is your strengths and weaknesses, but more importantly, know your weaknesses and take your licks and get back up and be better next flight, I think I even had a patch one time that said do better or don't suck or some shit like that I'd wear, but yeah. Or suck less. That's what it was. Suck less. Yeah.
There you go. Oh, funny. And then, and then stand tall. So you talked about the 40, the 105. Tell people how big that is, because we're not a metric system country. What is a 40 cal and a 105?
Yeah, so the 40 mil round, it's about like, I don't know, caught about 16, 17 inches long, and there was clips of 4. And what they did was, they took the Navy anti-aircraft gun, and basically we hung it on the side of a C-130 as well as the 105. And, you do left-hand turns like NASCAR with guns, and the 105, that's the big one. That's the one that's like 45 pounds. It's a huge, basically like an M1 tank, like projectile. You're putting that thing in a cannon there in the aircraft, and you're shooting that thing. And it recoiled about 49 inches was the most we would allow before we'd shut it down. But yeah, with and it was with the 105 that's tried and true since Vietnam. Like there was some nights, man, where we would just shoot near a guy, right, and like he would just crumble, he'd give up. At that point he knew he was dead. And then there was
so the round itself, the lead portion of the round itself was about 45 pounds, or the whole thing with the
whole thing with the case and projectile was about 45 pounds. So.
Okay, because 105 is slightly over 4 inches in diameter. How long do you think that piece of lead was?
Oh man, I'd say. So we got about 8 to 10 inches there.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's 30 inches or so, you know what I mean, of the projectile point. Yeah, it's huge, man. It's a big, long round, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. As I said earlier, you don't want to be on the business end of that thing.
Yeah, man. It was, what was my favorite round was the proximity rounds, though. And I think it's like a FMU 160 fuse. And like, it would come down and like, it would recognize, let's say you had 7 guys out in the field in Afghanistan, right? For example, troops out in the open, soft targets, it would recognize when it's, about 15 feet above them and just 14,000.22 size caliber, just shred them, and there's no way they could outrun that, so of course you'd lead them and stuff like that with it, but they would all fall.
Yeah. What'd you say in your book? I think the A10 guys said it too. You can run.
Yeah. That was our motto. You can run, but you only die tired. I think I have it on a coin. Yeah. And that was something you never got used to, man. Was like there was operations where you would study and like you would brief and you would go do it. Then nothing would happen right. They would get the guy they want.
Yeah. And
then there was the other ones where like there would be troops in contact and you get a call sign grid and location frequency, and then you're on your way to them, and then you get to 7-6 miles out and you see the enemy start running like bees or cats from a scene or something, and they, like I said, they know at that point they're dead, and we just start going to town, the 40 and 105 on them.
Yeah. So how many missions did you do before you fired?
Before I got out of the Air Force, is approximately 200 or more.
Not retired, no, fired. You're before you actually fired a shot and took out some bad guys.
I mean, even on your first training sortie, you know what I mean. If there's a live fire with it, you're going to get to operate the 40 mil and the 105. As far as like traditional, like pulling the triggers, they say, right? Like, so there's now it's a CISO and a WISO that does that, but it used to be the enlisted, sensor operators. There was a degraded mode of fire where we would tie our lanyard to the 105 firing pole and pull it and almost turn into like an artillery guy. But, in 60s, you're the guy that actually, you're firing that, the 50 cal and the Gal 2 minigun. So it's a little different, but everyone did have a say in the arm safe assembly, the consent, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So you were the last one to arm that thing up before, it goes out.
Okay. I guess, so where I'm specifically going, we haven't mentioned this before in the episode, so here it comes. You're the author of the book Moonchild, a memoir by Anthony Dyer. And you talk in there about doing missions in Afghanistan before you got your head shaved. So that's basically what I was asking. How long?
Okay, yeah. The first actual combat shoot, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like a rite of passage, and you after your first kill, you get your head shaved, and it was almost symbolic, like being like born again. I always thought of it like that,
Okay.
At that point, you've taken a life, and my first one, we went, I don't know, a long time without shooting. It felt like. But we had landed from one operation, and we had I was reloading the tweak rounds, which is basically lining your sights in the few rounds you use to make sure your gun's good to go. And that was on another operation. We had landed, and they had got a hold of the aircraft commander, and so he comes running back to the gun deck like, "Hey guys," he's like, "there's a Green Beret team pin down." He's like, "Who's with me?" And every one of us, of course, had our own version of "send me," and then. Next thing you know, I'm flying overhead, and this is pinky time. And it's really rare that the gunship goes out at daytime because of stuff that happened in Desert Storm.
Right.
But, we get there, and it's the pinky time that, sun's coming up, and then I just see boom, boom, two RPG flashes, and I felt like they were like right under me, because I was in the left scanner, and we're only probably a few thousand feet above them, and then basically I go back and get on the 40 mil. I think it was about approximately 60 rounds, and all three of those assholes had the explosive packs on them. And you could tell, the JTAC and the Green Berets boys, they were getting shot at all night. They were over it, and they called us in, and we set those guys on fire with a 40 mil, and then RTB. So and then got home and got my head shaved. So
Hey, Tito, you mentioned something just now, which also caused a trigger. You said pinky time. You usually didn't fly. Can you kind of explain to our listeners what happened to AC-130 during the day in Desert Storm?
Yeah. So in Desert Storm, it was a Spirit 03 was the call sign. They had basically they were out flying in the daytime, and then long story short, they had got shot with an SA-7, I believe it was, and all the crew members were lost for that. And then there were a couple of times where the gunship has a couple memorable ones that. That's always brief throughout our history is the Spirit 03, then the Jockey 14, which the Jockey 14 was a completely different reason. There was an onboard detonation that caused that one. There's Somalia there.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, not at all.
So I know this from from being in theater with you guys, but it's if it's daytime, the airplanes are sitting on the ramp. If it's nighttime, you're usually up all night.
Yeah. Fair. Usually, and that there is, it takes there's waivers for everything, right? But there is waivers to get us up in the daytime, and usually it was really bad if that was like sort of like this case, But I don't know which general, if it's the A3 or command type waiver signs that off, but they happen, few and far between.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So now back to my other question. You probably answered it before when I was trying to focus in on another story. How many combat missions did you fly?
It was
how
over
many combat hours? Okay.
It was over 200. I don't even know, 2,700 hours. I think was give or take the time, and then over 200 missions.
Yeah. All right. And like you said, I think in the book you called it, just turning folks into pink mist. And you went on to deal with that, have a harder time dealing with that ultimately, I think, than you expected. But I want to share just a quick piece here that just over 30 years ago, my little one was in a car crash. He was 5 months old, and he was in the hospital with 40% burns on his body. One of the recovery surgeries that he had a roommate who was from Kuwait who had been he had watched his parents murdered, and then the Iraqi soldiers set him on fire. And so that's why I never had any qualms that, would I have a chance to go and turn those assholes into pink mist? I wouldn't have thought twice about it. And I hope that, you realize that that's the kind of shit that those guys were doing, and that's why and it's, it ain't murder when you're protecting your own. Yeah, and I know you've come to realize that, but I wanted to.
Yeah, and to be clear, like, the thing that really, the mental health stuff as far as Moonchild goes, it was never, taking their lives never bothered me. Like you said, there's a reason those guys needed to die, and they did. It was, when I went to rescue, right, and the whole reason I prided myself even on gunships was we were there to make sure those operators on the ground get home, And so when I went to rescue, on June 8, 2018, I was on a rescue helicopter, and at that point, we did the CASEVAC. We had saved 5 lives, but we lost 1 Eagle, 1 American. So we saw the best side of combat search and rescue, and we saw the worst side, right? And that's what I've learned in this life, especially aviation. It's not what you do, it's what you don't do that haunts you. And that Eagle passing away, that's when the mind starts, man, if I'd have been there 1 minute earlier, 30 seconds earlier, would he have lived,
Yeah.
So that's where the, like I said, taking a life never bothered me. It was an Eagle not making it home. That definitely bothered me. So.
Yeah, fair enough. But man, that's the human natural tendency, though, right? Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Oh, yeah.
If I'd have been there earlier, I would have saved. Yeah.
100%.
Oh man.
Tito, can you walk us through like a day in the life? In when you're in combat, like what time, you get up at 7 o'clock at night, just kind of walk us through what a typical combat mission look like.
Yeah. So there was, I narrowed it down, especially on gunships, to 2 types of missions, right? So there was the ones that you knew were coming, right? Like there's some sort of high value target on the ground, and there's, the super ninjas on the ground are going to go in there and do a direct action, get that guy, right? And those are like, when they're coming, they give you a time, right? And then, believe it or not, man, we had pagers back then, and so you had a pager, and like certain numbers meant different things, and one number would mean like, okay, your brief time is this time. They're going after this guy, right? You're going to be overhead this operation as insurance, or you may clear the LZ for the helicopters coming in, the Cherry Eyes call, stuff like that. And then the other types of missions were the ones that, the troops in contact, where you get these numbers and you're alerted, and, you're off the ground within 20, 30 minutes in the gunship, flying towards the end of the fight. So like you said, when the sun starts coming down, we'd wake up, sometimes even before, and, usually work out, go eat, and then either, standing by for that page, the troops in contact, you got to go. So it was either one or 2 things. There was really never, in between that,
Okay.
Well, you did talk about in the book, though, how dangerous it was to have a few guys with a little spare time on your hands. Can you tell us some of the funny shit you used to do to each other?
Oh man, we'd put like my go-to was putting Kool-Aid in somebody's combat boots, and it's August in Afghanistan, they start sweating, and they got purple shit coming out of their boot, shit like that, man. Or we would get like
sounds dangerous.
I would get like, I learned a lot of these in the fire department, to be honest with you, but I would get like the Texas Pete hot sauce, and like the knobs on the toilet lid. You'd get them to where they would sit on that thing, and it would shoot in towards their asshole.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I did that, man. There was a typical, like, some guy would be in the porta-john, and some guy would like lift it on a, as far back as he could without spilling shit all over him, and stupid shit like that. And we called this one an antique, where like one guy would like get water, run up and hit the guy with it, and the other guy would get like protein or some sort of powder and throw it all over the guy right after. And, yeah. That was called an antique. Yeah.
You guys are vicious.
Yeah.
Were right.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned in the book though, like one thing I never did, I always, my insurance was, I kept the thing of Nair with me in case I ever had to go in somebody's shampoo bottle if they went too far, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
you learn how to defend yourself real quick.
That just went from vicious to savage right there.
Yeah. I mean, that's like I said, there's nothing probably more dangerous than putting a bunch of gunners in a cart, an OSB board made hut,
Oh,
so.
yeah. Well, yeah. You don't give them too much time off or, shit
100%.
starts happening.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was duct tape ever involved? I used to see Marines getting.
Oh yeah, man. There was some guys got in a lot of trouble for duct tape at one point, but we had to stop it with that. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! What's the worst one ever happened to you?
I think like someone had put like the saran wrap or whatever like over my door,
Yeah.
And like they made it so clear to like, basically they faked an alert to where like I got up and ran and like this thing had honey and all kinds of shit on it. Yeah. That's one of the better ones I remember.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh man, maybe they're just trying to tell you needed a shower.
But could have been, I realized the other day I'm the old guy. Someone's like old guy in the sim now, so
Right. Yeah.
So what would be one of your more memorable deployment memories from Afghanistan? Afghanistan, I know you deployed in Afghanistan. Did you play to Iraq too?
We did, yeah, we did. When the ISIS thing kicked off, we went there, man. I think I went on that one like 5 or 6 months.
Were you flying out of Al Assad?
At that point, it was Kuwait. At that point,
oh yeah, to Kuwait. Okay,
yeah, we would fly out of there, but Afghanistan for me was always Bagram, where for the ISIS thing it was Kuwait at the time.
What's your most memorable Afghanistan mission that comes to mind when you think?
I would say you never forget your first one. That was one of the more like,
Sure.
Daytime. It was so up close and personal, and then, that moment of realization, like, man, like I got to serve my country at the highest capacity that I could, so that was always a feeling I'll never forget, was that very first shoot in Afghanistan, 2011.
That's pretty awesome.
Nice.
10, 11. I was there in fall of 10 into early spring 11, and there was a lot of gunship action going on back then. I remember at night when we were up, in between missions, if there was ever any quiet time on the ramp, which was rare, we could hear the gunships off in the distance.
Oh, yeah.
Doing business.
Yeah. It's man, I saw this thing one time and it was like a CNN, I don't know, reporter or something went. Basically, he was in a cave interviewing the Taliban. What he was doing there, I don't know. And he was like, man, I'm not afraid of that drone or whatever flies over here. It's like, I'm afraid of that, that the big plane, the cargo planes, what he was talking about. And sure enough, man, the sun goes down and like he ends up kicking the reporter out because like you just hear the gunships 105 just tearing somebody up, man, like from a distance, So they had thought he had basically like caught it in, so they kicked him out. But yeah.
I remember hearing the Spectre gunships practicing on the Eglin Air Force Base ranges when we were out doing land survival in flight school.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, oh my God.
Right. I know. It sounds like a full-on firefight going on. It was just one plane.
Yeah. It was terrifying to go. Yeah, I cannot imagine being on the pointy end of that thing. No.
Yeah, I always try to imagine like, imagine like you're the bad guy, right, or whatever, and you got 10 to 12 of these 45-pound projectiles coming out in a minute at you. I mean, there's nothing, like I said, there's nothing at that point they could do, and that's we took a lot of pride about, there was letters in the 16th, man, where like I remember this letter, I must have read this every day, man. It was from a ranger, and he's like holding his baby girl, right, and he's like, hey man, he's like, to the 16th, thank you guys for your rounds and your close air support. Because of you guys, I got to go see my baby girl. And that's 100% to me, that was always my why, that was what I signed up to do, and I think, I'm a realist, I knew I couldn't be like physically like an operator, at least in my mind, I thought I couldn't, and the water and stuff like that. And so I was like, the next best thing would be making sure those guys get home to their family. And I took a lot of pride in that. And we took a lot of pride in that.
Well, that's outstanding.
Yeah.
Obviously, you guys did your job, and you did it well. If you said this already, I apologize. Full combat loaded AC-130. What's it weigh when you take off?
So you're getting up to that 155,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's the same. It's the same structural limit as a trash hauler.
Yeah. You know, and you're getting thousands of pounds of ammo, and now they got bombs on them and stuff. So
yeah, about
a lot more lead.
And so I've never actually been in the back of one and seen how what it's laid out like. But is there magazines that have the 105 rounds in them, and you just move the magazines over, or are you physically taking one round at a time and loading it like that?
So imagine like, you have one guy, you have this huge rack, think the size of like a closet, right? Closet door a little bigger. Yep, there you go.
Oh, well, Sticks has a picture up on the YouTube video at 40 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah, and you see behind if you were to look over the guy that's on the 105, his left shoulder, right behind him, there's the ashes right there. See that rack right there? Like towards the I guess the right paratroop door right in front of that. So that's nowadays we just have 80 rounds. We're back in the Ace model. That would carry 100, and we would also put 25 prox rounds on the Ace model up front, but now they're all on that ashes behind the one I was talking about earlier. So it depends. Like if you're on one gun and you got 3 gunners available, you got someone what we call passing, right, and he's throwing it in the breech. The guy that's operating the breech, slaving it and arming it, gun goes boom, and then you have usually your lead gun pulling brass, which is the guy with his back facing the camera there. Okay. And it's a beautiful thing to see though, man. When you get 3 gunners on there and you're getting that 10 to 12 rounds out per minute, just not a lost second, just seeing.
That's one every 5 to 6 seconds, man. Holy shit!
Yeah, and it's and you learn to do it in the dark. That's a hard. A lot of guys, you turn the lights off and they're a whole different person. But you learn to do all that shit in the dark. And there's ways they teach you to do that. But
hey, Sticks, could you put that picture back up real quick?
Or Bago, whichever one was Sticks. Sorry,
Bago. I don't. Are we both? Are they both on there?
It was Bago. Yeah, both are here.
Holy shit! Thank you.
Right.
So we're looking. The camera is kind of on the ramp, looking towards the nose of the airplane. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, and so that gun is sticking out. Is it sticking out a hole in front of the right paratroop door, or is it the right paratroop? Oh, here we go.
It's under the wing.
Yeah.
Behind.
Yeah. So where the left paratroop door would be, that's where the 105's at. The barrel
got it.
Right there. Yep.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
You're 40 mil right in front of that there.
And then what?
That looks like a sewer pipe, not a gun.
Yeah.
Hey,
holy shit, that thing's huge.
That was a black. That was a Black Label Society. So when I went to I was on this flight, man. I'll send you some pictures, but that may be my ass right there above the 30 mil there. But yeah, that's a Black Label Society, man. I remember me and my buddy Kyle, we were on that one, and those guys jumped on and flew with us, blew their minds, dude. And that was back when we were 30 mil only on the whiskey.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, man, I'm 90% sure that's me right there with my butt showing in front of the 30.
Right.
No shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you some pics later, man.
All right. So, which of those weapons was the most fun to fire?
Oh, 100% the 105, man. It's
nice.
Just because like you could feel the plane shift a little bit, right? And you see that 49 inches of recoil, man. And of course. Hold
on. How much does that plane weigh?
155.
155,000. Yeah,
that's the max. That's the max gross takeoff weight. But hold on a second. Did you say you said this earlier? And I was trying to write it down, and I was like,
49 inches.
49 inches of recoil. 49 inches.
Yeah, that's the max that for our gun limitations we would allow before we'd have to shut it down. If it was beyond that, then you get risk of that thing coming out of the cradle assembly and
So
that's 4 damn feet of recoil.
But that's the maximum. What's the average recoil?
I'd say 43 inches. I'd say.
Holy shit!
Oh, so not quite 4 feet.
yeah, almost there. Yeah.
Oh my god!
But and
does it move?
Does it
move the airplane? Does it move?
Yeah, I forgot what the exact degrees was, but you definitely you feel it. You know what I mean? Especially if you're always leaning like one way, right? Like boom, you know it, right?
So you got a 75-ton airplane getting moved by this gun. Holy shit!
Yeah, it's
What's the old equal opposite reaction thing?
Yeah. What did you use to aim? You know, you weren't just putting rounds out in the middle of nothing.
Well, the CISO did that, right?
Yeah. So now,
how'd that work?
Yeah. So now the CISO and the Wizzo, they do the aiming and the trigger pulling as we think about trigger pulling, right? But like the back then we had enlisted sensor operators. You had a IR operator, and you had a low level TV, and basically those guys were the guys that aimed, saw what they were going to shoot, and then shot it. Yeah, as we would think about a traditional trigger. But yeah, now it's CISO and the Wizzo. So you have officers doing that. What enlisted, I guess, at that point used to do. So.
Well, you can't.
Can't let the troopers have all the fun, man.
Can't let the enlisted guys have all the fun.
No.
I tell you, those guys were good though, man. Like there's a 40 mil on the 16th that has not a 40 mil. There's an RPG that has a 40 mil circle in it. And the way the story goes, it was a listed sensor. Basically, the Green Beret team like radios back like, hey, like we got a something for you guys to see, but when you get back to us, we'll bring it to you, whatever. And sure enough, man, it was a 40 mil that it had a 40 mil hole right in the RPG. Whether that was a little bit of luck, I don't know, but he was that good of a sensor, man. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Driving nose,
What about most memorable combat mission in when you were flying combat missions in Iraq?
In Iraq, I would say there was this one, man, where these guys like they started doing this Mad Max type stuff, man, and like basically it was still warm, and we hit it with a Griffin, which was a AGM, 176, comes out the back of the aircraft, and then you go from what a run-in heading at that time into a gun orbit, and at that point they had cleared us on 30 mil cleanup for all the squirters or whatnot. And, they start coming out of that thing left and right. Some of them were dead, some of them were alive. They were running for their life. We just start, cleaning them up with a 30 mil. And man, they must have got 7-8 dudes in that one vehicle. You know what I mean? How they did that, I don't know. But it was a lot of Mad Max type stuff going on back then with the vehicles. Yeah.
Right. Oh, just incredible. And Sticks briefly had a picture up. There's basically a TV screen. The guy's sitting there at the console aiming, and you guys are pulling the
100%,
pulling the trigger, sending rounds down range.
Yep. Yeah, that looks like must be the ACJ there, the new one.
So J model C-130. Okay.
Yeah. It's an AC-130J. That's the ones that have everything on it now. So
bombs, guns,
yeah, bomb truck.
It's truly death from above.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. When you look at a C-130, you'd never think of that as an attack or a weapons delivery aircraft. And damn if it isn't just one of the most effective ones.
Yeah, and it was I think I may have mentioned earlier, like, in the H model, like we didn't even pressurize on that thing. You had tail numbers like 6.9 and 7.2, and you're literally flying on the same, I guess, structure of an airframe that they did in Vietnam, and that's when they started calling them, Spooky and Puff the Magic Dragon and stuff like that.
Yeah. And and so Vietnam was the first use of the C-130 in the attack mode, AC-130.
It was, yeah.
Okay.
And that's when they, they labeled it AC as an attack, and then C as in cargo, then 130.
Okay. Oh, thank you. So Sticks puts in the chat, the 105 discharges with 93,000 kilograms multiplied by 2.2 to get pounds of 4. Oh, there he already did the math. 205,029 pounds of force. No wonder a 75-ton airplane feels it.
Yeah, and I think there's something to mention too with just our loader time. We're going this left-hand circle, forever, right? Where a lot of guys, other aircraft would have to yo-yo, like go get gas, come back, and we were always there, and we didn't want to leave an op, but it would get real weird, man, if we left even for 30 minutes to hit a tanker real quick, but for like a mid-tank,
Yeah, I mean, I'll concede that we had pretty good legs in the Harrier, more than people would believe. But we couldn't stay there for 4 hours.
Hours.
Yeah, we do 4. You get into 5, it starts getting like, okay, we're gonna need gas, So.
Wow.
So after serving as a air crewman on sea, all right?
I'm sorry,
You broke
cut
up a
out
little
quickly.
there. So you went to the HH-60 Pavehawk?
I did, yes. I went to the 41st Rescue Squadron out in Moody Air Force Base, Georgia, and at that point, like I still wanted to really like, I don't know, I feel like I'd never done enough. I was always in that mindset, like I wanted to do more and test my metal, I guess you'd call it. And at that point, I wanted to be a traditional, helicopter gunner, and got to do the rescue mission. It's just like anything else. It's like if we're working, someone's having, their worst day or possibly last day, right? So you never want to have to do that, but at the same time, man, when somebody goes down, man, those green feet are coming. You want to be that guy.
Yeah. And so how long did you do that?
About 4 years, somewhere between 4 and 4.5 years. Yeah.
That's awesome. Any memorable missions that stick in your mind when you think about that part of your career?
Yeah, 100%. I would say that that Cassavac on June 8th there in East Africa, that one sticks with me forever. And it literally like there was so much happening in the first minute of that flight, man. Like we scrambled.
Back it up. Let's talk us through that day. What did that look like?
Yeah, so we were holding down Cassavac about 7 days out of 7 at this point, and nothing had happened. Basically, the 5th Special Forces Group had ground assault forced into an area. And then basically I go in the talk, man, and I look and I ask them, like, because it's one of those things, if you're holding 24/7, it's just like you guys say, eat when you can eat, sleep when you can sleep, right? And so I was like, man, I'm gonna go to my tent and get some shut eye, and basically like everything was fine. I go, as soon as I laid my head down on my bunk bed, right, you hear, attention on that scramble. So what was a quarter-mile run? It felt like eternity though when I did it. Sprinted to the helicopter. Yeah, get my vest on, my helmet. Basically put my gunner's belt on, lock it in, and then the PJs get on, and we fly out there. And let me back up. So we take off, and basically we go into like a right.
Where were you?
Tito, I can only say East Africa for this one.
East Africa. Okay,
yeah.
That's all. That's good enough.
And I'm sorry. So you slow down. We know what you're talking about, but you got to tell what PJs are, what your gunner's belt is, all that kind of stuff, because we got a lot of folks that don't do this.
I got you. Yeah. So PJs is the pararescueman, and they're basically like if you were to make a super ninja special forces like paramedic and put them on the back of your helicopter, like they do it all, man. They're the best in the world at saving people out of very hostile situations. I'll say that, and everything else too. But so basically we had 3 of those guys on my bird, and you had 3 on the helicopters, and we take off. If I can get in the story a little bit here, my gunner's belt was basically this. I'd lock this in. It was basically this strap that you put around your chest, and it has a hook on it that locks into one of the rings on the floor to keep you from falling out the helicopter. So I was good to go.
First, baby.
Oh yeah. You'd be surprised, man. But yeah, we take off and go into a slight right hand bank, man, and like I just remember at this point, I started seeing like dirt impacts like right below me, man, because we're in like a right hand turn. And the left gunner, he's a super experienced guy. He had I think it was a worn sear notch or something to that effect that caused a runaway gun on the 50 cal on the left. Then we're doing what you call fencing in. At this point, you're going, okay, we're going into bad guy land. We want every advantage we can, right? So we want to arm our weapons. We want to get our defensive systems ready. That way, in case they shoot a missile at us, we can defend ourselves. And so he had a runaway gun. Simultaneously, I pulled the last flare pin, and we jettisoned all of our flares because water had got in that overhead panel there.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, and so like, I could literally feel the heat from the flares. Like like I'm surprised I have eyebrows left, man. But yeah, and so like all this is going on, and I start to hear like bits and pieces of a JTAC doing a 5-line, which is very rare to do with a 50 cal, close air support with a 50 cal and a rescue helicopter. And so there's literally a point in the flight. This is 13 to 15 minute flight to the area, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I say that on caution, because everything was going against us, Yeah. And so finally we get there, and then the JTAC marks the tree line, and what it was there was these 12 assholes in the tree line, and basically they were shooting mortars at the our guys, right? And so we had to get all 4 guns on target in this tree line that the JTAC had marked. I think we ended up getting like 8 out of 12 of them at the end, but We, basically had to fight our way in a little bit, come in and we're lead. So we're going to land first, and we land, and, they bring the first American in. Then they bring another Green Beret, put him beside me. Then they put the partner nation guy who got shot in the gut, pretty much right there, near the door. And we take back off and immediately go into a gun pattern, start shooting. And it gets to a point, man, where it's like, okay, the golden hour, we have to get this guy back. Trails on the ground. It seemed like forever, but really wasn't, So like, hey, let's get this guy back, So we'll give it one more gun pass, and by the grace of God, by the time we, started egressing the area, they lifted up and got in trail, and we got out of there. We landed, then so we dropped those patients off, and then I rearm, going to get my gas, stuff like that, real quick, hot gas. We fly back to the area, and trail had one more guy to pick up, and they picked that guy up, and then we were doing gun patterns. And at this point, like you said earlier, I saw what they did to Americans. So, I unleashed like half my 50 cal rounds on that, those few gun patterns there on that tree line. We get back, and then the experienced guy on the left was like, hey man, he's like, check the helicopter for bullet holes. So I do that, and I come around the front, and the aircraft commander, he's just white, like, you can see his face. And so basically he told me that an eagle had passed. So yeah, that, sticks with you. So
yeah.
What's in, I'm sorry, what's in, tell me what an eagle is.
An eagle's an American soldier. You have green, you have blue. Yeah. So an eagle would be like an American,
Okay.
But yeah, and it's like I said,
so
it's not what
you guys were both gunships and medevac?
So I was. So I was on gunships at first, and then I went to rescue the HH-60G Pave Hawk helicopter.
Okay. And was the Pave Hawk armed?
Yeah, we usually fly with either 250 cals or 2 miniguns, depending on the mission set. Yeah. Yeah, so we had right. I think it was like 600 rounds of 50 cal on each side, and then the minigun we had 2,400 on each side for that one.
Holy shit!
But it was usually one or the other. You'd either have both 50s or you would have both miniguns.
Okay,
that's a lot of lead. Either way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely has some teeth on it, So
get in, get it, and get out. Yes.
But yeah, I would to answer your question. That one definitely, obviously sticks with me. So.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So, well, I haven't covered much of your personal life, but you write your book. Do you want to let's chat about your book a little bit? What led you to write it? And without not too much of a spoiler alert, it's quite an interesting read. I highly recommend. It's
I would
say a couple hours at the most. But well done.
It's a very nice size. It's a very nice size, easy to travel with, which is what I do, and it's awesome.
For sure, I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, and the reason
135 pages, pictures for you Marines.
I joke, man. I still read right on a 5th grade level, man. But somehow I got a book out, So.
Right on.
No, in all seriousness, man, I was getting prolonged exposure treatment. With basically, USOCOM has the preservation of the force and family, and you have an MFLAC, which is a psychologist for that. And I didn't want to do medication. And so like this mission specifically, we were just talking about, stuck with me. And basically prolonged exposure, what that means is like you're getting comfortable being uncomfortable. You're writing the story out over and over to the point where, you say you're not going to get emotional talking about it, but clearly I do sometimes. But like,
sure.
It gets you comfortable being uncomfortable, to say the least. And and then I'm telling her the story. The first time I told her, man, I cried. Heck, she cried too at that point. And then I got better and I got more comfortable with it, telling it. And then she's like, you should tell your story. She must have said it like 100 times. And I was like, no, I'm not going to, And then when I get out, man, when all the dust settles, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can pay it forward. Maybe if someone gets help, one person from reading this book, then that's a blessing in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm a huge, we were talking about earlier, every job matters, right? Like every veteran has a story. So you feel so much better when you bleed it on the page, man. Just get it out to the world,
Well, and you saved the life one night too. Tell us about that. Yeah, that was from a long way off.
Yeah. So I was, I was on 60s helicopters at this point, on the other side of the country, right? And my buddy was here in Clovis, New Mexico, and I'm not gonna say his name, but he called me, said something to the effect of like, man, like I just can't take it no more. Like, I'm about to take my last shot, something like that. It really alarmed me,
Shit.
Yeah, and then so I called a flight engineer that lived down the road, and when they walked up on him, he had the gun in hand, ready to do it. A few less words. That's what he was going to do, right? And but it was able to basically get him to the help he needed at the hospital, all that stuff. But he's out now, man. He's a lot better person for getting help, and it was an honor to fly with him.
Yeah, should hunt. Well, because right, I mean, it's trite to say, but it's so true. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
And Tito, you hit the nail on the head just a minute or so ago. Everybody has stories, and until you listen, and it doesn't. It is therapeutic to tell them. We've had this. We've had Vietnam era helicopter guys come on our program, and after they've emailed us and texted us and said, it's been so long since I've talked about this, and I needed to talk about it, and I didn't realize how it helped me.
Oh yeah. There's a Vietnam gunner back home, man. He texts me all the time. He's an Army guy, and I talk to him all the time. And he's even taught me, like, there's a difference, right? I couldn't imagine what those guys came home to and stuff like that, but like, there's a difference between checking on someone like, hey, how's it going, man? Versus like, hey, how you doing, really, man? Like, really, like, how you holding? You know what I mean? Like,
yes. There's
a connection there that I think all veterans have with each other in some way, shape, or form. So,
well, I don't know how to express this right, so I'm just going to start vomiting.
There you go.
Words at you. I really appreciate your book for more than one reason. And I felt like it was probably therapy for you to write it, and you validated my
100%.
And so it's now it means more to me that I know that. So thank you.
So I appreciate that.
Right. Yeah.
So how many years total? How many years total did you serve our country in the military?
So I did 21.4 years total.
0.4.
Yeah.
God bless America.
Couldn't stick it out for 22 years.
Yeah, what a slacker.
Jeez.
Yeah, man, I had some weird shit happen, man, where I lost my left lung, like my last year in. Yeah, like my last year in, like, basically had to somehow get a paralyzed hemodiaphragm.
Jeez.
And then the collapsed lower left lobe. And to this day, I still got, I think I've got it up to about 70% total lung capacity. And that's just because, your left side has the heart and stuff like that on it, versus the other side has all that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was, the writing was on the wall too, and I'd already hit the button, to be honest with you, at that point. And I'd, my last, this one went to Al Assad, on the whiskey, and like just doing absolutely not, ISR, if you will. Basically reconnaissance for people who don't know. But yeah, and I was like, man, I didn't, I want to do more than this. I still want to be in this fight. And you realize, when you out process the Air Force or Marines or Army, oftentimes, like in my case, there wasn't even a door handle on the other side of that door. So that's going to hit you, and I guess I would recommend to anybody, man, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be, afraid to take a knee and check on each other.
You know what? That's gold. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
100%.
Absolutely.
When you say those words, you will be surprised at what happens. Right?
Oh yeah.
As soon as you say, "Hey, I need help," holy shit.
Yeah. In fact, we'll put it up here. Now, there's a veteran suicide hotline. Dial 988 and then press 1 when it answers. But Sticks is a healthcare professional, and he says if you're struggling, find a provider you can connect with or reach out to him. Sticks at sothereiwas.us, and he'll help you. He's a veteran. Awesome. He's in spite of the fact that he flew helicopters, he's a pretty smart guy, and
oh yeah,
yeah.
appreciate you guys doing that, man. And while you're in, nobody wants to get the guy to go to NIF, right? Duties not to include flying,
Right.
Yeah.
or to get a do not arm from your commander. But at the same time, like, we're very normal men and women doing very unordinary things, right?
Yeah,
like you're talking
That's
about,
right.
But yeah, it's going to get to that point. So take that tactical knee, even if you're in or out,
And I forget who it was. I think it was his call sign was in front of me and just left me. But he talked about, you're like playing for the Green Bay Packers, and then you get out, and the next day there's no uniform, there's no nothing, there's no fans cheering you, you can't get into the stadium, you're just a nobody. And that's kind of the way it is getting out of the military. Life changes dramatically, and when you're in, you're thinking, I can't wait to be out. I'm going to be, I'll be normal again, and I'm not going to have to get up at 4 a.m. and do stupid shit and wait around till 9 a.m. And then it's different. It's just different.
Well, you immediately lose the camaraderie that you have.
Yeah, it's gone.
With all your squadron mates.
Yeah,
because
that's it, right? I mean, we fight in the end of the day for each other. What was I going to say? Basically, there was a point in my book where there was a show out, right? It's called Lioness, and the lady starts off. She's talking about, the quote was like, the world's 5% saints, 5% evil, to their bone evil, right? The other 90% are just sheep. They'll follow whoever has the upper hand. Well, I can either choose to believe that or not, right? And I like to believe that we all fight for each other, not a belief or a majority, So, little side note there, but
it was Scott Cartvet. That's who it was. Intake. Yeah, he was a Blue Angel, and talked about how you go from one day being being the Blue Angel and hundreds of thousands of people cheering you on to another day you're like you're a guy standing in line to get a hamburger at Wendy's.
Yeah. Hey, are you in
and
line?
no one cares what you did.
Yeah, and I had to. That's a very humbling thing too, right? To get to. So I had to go to the point where I was like, I take myself too seriously. Like this thing's going to go on. This machine's going to keep turning. Like I got to that point, which it humbled me a lot, and it helped as well when I realized that. So
yeah.
Well, sir, you've done more than most,
right?
And you, like many of our guests, have done things that only you can really know.
Yeah.
You can talk about it and write about it, but until you see it, smell it, touch it, you're just not there. And for that, I commend you, sir, and thank you for your service.
Well, I commend you guys and your service as well, man, and thank you for all you've done for everyone. So.
Well, we're just hanging on to this tiger that we grabbed by the tail, and the damn thing took off running, and here we are.
That's good though,
Well, had we not done this, we wouldn't have met you and heard your story. And thank you for that.
An amazing story that it is. So yeah, Moonchild, available on Amazon. We'll put a link to it in our blog for this episode and all that.
Love the cover. I don't know who designed it. Did you do that? Because
I did not come up with that. So Robbie Grayson, there at Trademarker Media, he's in Franklin, Tennessee. He designed the whole cover. That's an H model gunship on the back, and that's me with my mask on the back of it there.
Yeah, that's badass. It is really badass.
I think as part of air crew in general, right? Like we stay wild, Moonchild, it's sort of a thing, right? So that mentality. I want to quote one of the best pilots I ever flew with, man. His name was Micah, and then basically he said something to the effect when he left the 16th that stuck with me. He's like, "This is very fighter pilot-ish, so you guys might like it." But he's like, "Love a good woman, drive a fast car, and fly with all your heart. Everything else will come into place." So basically meaning everything's gonna be all right, So
I like that. There may be a show title in there.
Well, we normally use authors' books as show titles, but if we weren't gonna, that would be a badass one.
That would.
That might be a badass show title anyway.
Yeah,
and then we could say Moonchild, a memoir.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Yeah. So we need to thank also all our Patreon supporters who lost all sense of common sense, money, financial management abilities, and all that, to include Sal did it again.
Sal, you Well,
Thank you, Sal. Another Tanker
you, Marine.
Aircraft Commander month from former Marine, and
he's
Sal
lost all judgment.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you.
You're just batshit crazy, Sal. So thank you.
We got to say thanks to Badass. That's
Right.
BDSAviationPhotography.com. Brad Silcott. Thanks, Badass.
Yeah.
Once again, pictures are like art, and his are true art. And he's
Absolutely they are. Absolutely they are. Yeah, it's I am amazed at how good his pictures are. And I think it looks like he's being included by the VMA 223 folks for the closure, the flame out of VMA 223 and the Harrier model aircraft next year. So I'm excited to see that. Hey, we had the privilege of having them both here today. Sticks is still in the background. Rare. Yeah, right. Bago had to bag out of here, as it were. So Bago had to bag out, but we want to thank both Sticks and Bago, who make this incredibly fun for us to pay attention to this. And then they throw up pictures from the inside of a freaking attack C-130 out of nowhere.
Yeah, there it is.
Like,
poof.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It comes up. I mean, it's like you just talking shit, and then shit shows up on the screen when we're for the video show. So, yeah, really good stuff. And for whatever reason, the freaking Dos Gringo. Oh, I know what's happening. Every time a Sticks puts up a picture, it stops my media.
Stop putting up pictures.
Stop putting the pictures up, Sticks. I'm trying to play those two guys who make the Air Force sound good, allow us to use their music. They give us shit, and it's apparently the loop is almost 2 seconds long. So that's just going to shit on us. But I'll put that in under all of this
Gringos.
in post. Yeah, it's the Dos Gringos. Count them two, not one, but two white guys. Dos Gringos, whose Air Force music makes the Air Force sound amazing.
Awesome. Well, that didn't make no sense. But we know what you're saying.
I know. Dos Gringos. That's Spanish for two white guys.
Yeah, they're the F-16 pilots that make the Air Force sound good.
Yeah, I meant what I knew.
Yeah. You know what I said.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, go to soleros.us/rate. Follow the links. Give us a 5-star rating. And until next week, stay safe and don't get a runaway gun.
Crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond of all the shit I was wearing on that day. Now an F-16 is cramped enough, but it's even worse with all that stuff supposed to save your life. But we knew there was no way. 'Cause when you're going down in the North Atlantic, man, it's over.
Hey, hold on. It's what?
He said it's over.
Mistakes were made.
Oh, shit. My bad.
Out.
It's all good, man.
Sorry.
It's all good.
All good stuff. Well, that was fun.
That was fun, Tito.
Really nice. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys. I appreciate it. That was a real privilege honor to be with you guys
it
today.
took 2 tries, but we got her done, baby.
You know,
That was, like I said, it was 100% my fault on that first one, man. But I think I got this podcast thing, internet figured out for the most part.
there you go. Well, you know what they say. Fecal matter occurs. So, So to everybody watching, thanks for joining us today. We deeply appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here so we can upload all of the audio, and then we're going to go do an extra for our Patreon folks like Sal, who keep throwing money at us for no apparent reason. Thank you, Sal.
Love you, Sal. You silly
Love you, brother.
Guys.
Yeah. All right. And any